Have you ever asked yourself, who am I really? Have you had a moment when a subtle voice within whispered, urging you to look deeper? Am I a father, a husband, a friend, an engineer, a passenger, or a patient? The truth is that you are a father because you have a son. You are a husband because you have a wife. A passenger because you are on a train. So, all your identities, everything you believe yourself to be, are all dependent on something else. So then, who are you? A father, a husband, or a passenger? The call to self-discovery often arises in moments of crisis, deep contemplation, or during significant life transitions. It's a call that invites you to peel off the layers you have accumulated over the years and discover the core of your being. From a young age, the world around you shaped you. Family, society, culture, and personal experiences mold you into a version of yourself that often caters more to external expectations than internal authenticity. You wear masks to fit in, to be accepted, and to fulfill societal roles. By not knowing the answer to the question, who am I, you keep on creating new identities for yourself, consequently going farther away from your true self. All the suffering in life is because of not knowing your true identity. Until you realize your true self, you believe yourself to be the name that has been given to you. In reality, you are an eternal soul. The essence of all scriptures, the spiritual discipline, and the practice of spirituality is just one: know your true self. You yearn for the true vision of self. You wander from one place to another on the quest to fully capture the concept of the true self, and this quest continues to suffocate until you are unable to find the answers to your questions. But the answer is within you. Do not dive into shallow waters. The pearls of life are found in the deep ocean, your inner self, not in ponds, lakes, or rivers. When your body first appeared as a child, it had no name. And after a while, you were given the name. You responded to the vibrations of love. But you did not know your name. Over time, your consciousness is ripe enough to absorb the impression of your name through memory. Then, once that name was impressed in the consciousness, it's as though the name was never forgotten again. Your mind just keeps you on a treadmill of thinking and always in action. You imagine something is going to make you happy, but after a short while, it doesn't make you happy. In reality, you are chasing misery. You are trapped in this cycle for a lifetime. Swami Vivekananda explained that life and death are only different names for the same fact, the two sides of the same coin. Both are Maya, the inexplicable state of striving at one time to live and a moment later having to die. Beyond this is our true nature, the Atman. What we call God is really only the self, from which we have separated ourselves and which we worship as outside us, but it is our true self, all the time, the one and only God. If you wish to know God, you must first know your true self. You must ask within yourselves who and what you are in reality, where you have come from, and what becomes of you after death. These questions are of vital importance. Ordinary people cannot solve such problems. Their minds are too busy with the affairs of the phenomenal world. Only those regarded as the sages in the human kingdom, the Buddhas and the Christs, and so on, understood the power of I, the truth of I. They found it to be so important that they forgot everything else, including themselves. Because they forgot everything else, the whole world cannot stop remembering them. An earnest seeker after truth, who is discontented with the knowledge of material objects, wishes to go below the surface of phenomenal appearances and does not stop until the ultimate goal, the reality that underlies all phenomena, is discovered. His aim is to find the correct solution to these problems by knowing the true nature of his ego as well as of the universe. He may start with the objective world, but gradually, as he advances step by step and reaches farther and farther in his search for truth, he comes back to his own self. Because the true self is the center of the universe. The phenomenal world, which consists of the objects of sense perception, may be compared to a grand circle, the circumference of which lies in the gross material forms, and the innermost center of which is Atman, the true self. That by which we know the existence of the external world, by which we are conscious of our bodies, senses, and mental powers, is our true self. It is not far from us, yet it is beyond the reach of mind and intellect. The self is described in the 4th verse of the Isha Upanishad. It is beyond all vibration and motion. It is one, and swifter than mind. The senses never reached it, it transcended them all. Though standing still, it overtakes the mind and senses, which are running fast. It is the source of all mental activities, sense powers, and the various forces of nature. The eternal nature of the self is explained in the Bhagavad Gita by Sri Krishna to Arjuna. Never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor all these kings, nor in the future shall any of us cease to be. As the embodied soul continually passes through this body, from boyhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at death. The self-realized soul is not bewildered by such a change. He who realizes all beings in the self, and the self in all animate and inanimate objects of the universe, never hates anything or any being. Hatred proceeds from imperfect relative knowledge, which makes us perceive objects as separate from one another. But when we see our true self in others, how can we hate another without hating our own self? As it is impossible to hate our true self, it would be impossible to hate the self of any being. This is one of the results of self-knowledge. Where self-knowledge exists, there can be no feeling of hatred. When hatred is gone, jealousy and all other selfish feelings, which we call wicked, disappear. What remains? Ordinary love, which stands in opposition to hatred, vanishes, but divine love begins to reign in the heart of the seer. True love means the expression of oneness. As love for the body makes us feel one with the body, so love for the true self makes us feel one with the true self, and if we see that self in others, we cannot help loving them as we love ourself. When all beings appear as parts of one universal self, there is neither delusion nor fear nor sorrow, because there can exist no other thing outside of self or Atman, for which one can grieve or from which one can suffer. Sorrow and fear arise so long as there is a sense of duality or multiplicity. In absolute oneness, there cannot be fear, sorrow, suffering, separation, or self-delusion. This is another result of self-knowledge. Those who do not realize this true self, dwell in the darkness of ignorance and go through the misery and sufferings that exist in that darkness. They are always fearful and unhappy. They fear death and everything that threatens their earthly existence, and they make their lives miserable by attaching themselves to a particular form of manifestation that they are afraid of losing. Those who are rich fear loss of fortune, those who have reputation and high position are afraid of losing them, and every man or woman suffers from the fear of disease and death. Perfect happiness comes, and all fear is conquered when self-knowledge is gained. The light of self-knowledge dispels the darkness of ignorance and frees us from fear, sorrow, misery, birth, and death, as well as from bondage, imperfection, and delusion, which proceed from ignorance. Self-knowledge is the only source of happiness. It will lead to perfection and freedom. You may seek freedom, but how can you obtain it when you have become a slave to fear and earthly conditions? You are a part of divinity. Feel it, realize it, and all these ties will drop away, and you will be free. The attainment of this freedom through self-knowledge will bring to you the realization of your oneness with divinity. Then, you will be able to say, I am the light of the universe, through me shine the sun, moon, stars, and the light. I have realized my true self. I have realized the true self of the universe, and therefore I am one with the Absolute. Thank you for being here. May you find the divine self within you.